Hey everyone, what's going on? If you're new to the channel, what I talk about is how the world that we're living in is made up with signs and symbols and also patterns that exist in our everyday life. And if you understand ancient knowledge practices such as this term right here called gematria or gematria, it's the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. If you understand this piece of ancient knowledge, you can have a way better understanding of these signs and symbols and synchronicity things that happen to you in your life every single day. And I often talk about how the mainstream media is controlled with this system. Our sports leagues are rigged or scripted with this system. Our told history, it is all connected with this system. There are people who understand this knowledge and they're using it for a certain agenda and they're using it to rule over the rest of the world. But it exists every single day, and I believe that everyone in the world, if they pay enough attention, they can use this knowledge to, make the world a better place. And that's what I'm trying to show people on here. Every single day I talk about these themes that I notice and how just these weird things happen in my life. And they're always seemingly synced up to the mainstream media. And clear back in March, I was documenting about Luke Perry and how it was synced up to my Buffy the Vampire Slayer post that I had back in November. He died 3 months and 10 days after I made that post, a lot like a 310. And it just so happens that Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show, it first aired on the date of 310. And in Gematria, this practice of coding numbers into words and phrases, if you write out Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it equals 310. And there's another cipher that's important to this year because it's a pig year. It's called Frank Baconis. But if you write out Buffy Summers, who is Buffy the Vampire Slayer's name in the movie, that also equals 310. And I was talking about how it was synced up to this troll theme. My daughter was watching a TV show called Troll Hunters. It's her favorite TV show. And on that same day we got the Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuff in the media, or Luke Perry dying, we got a story of Corey Feldman, who was in the movie The Lost Boys, right? Both about vampires, but he was defending Michael Jackson. And what was so interesting, he's famous for the other Corey Haim, who died on the date of 310. And I figured I'd never watched the movie The Lost Boys 2, so I went and watched it. And they did this distinct whistle every time they murdered somebody or the vampires killed somebody. And it was that exact same whistle that was on my daughter's show called Troll Hunters. And long story short, that song actually stemmed back to this guy named Edvard, I can't think of his name. Whatever, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but his name equals 310. And he made that song for a play called Purgent. And that play came out on 2/24, the day leaving 310 days in the year. And it took place in wherever it was, Norway or Sweden, reminding us of the area of trolls. And that play even had something to do with trolls. So I knew there was something important to trolls and trolling. And I'm just bringing all of this up because, just the other day we got this story about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that Christy Swanson, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she got a trolled death threat because her and Dean Cain are going to be doing a pro-Trump production. And then all these people started trolling her, and then she got an anti-Trump troll death threat. Now, what are the odds? I'm talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer like crazy, and now all of a sudden Buffy the Vampire Slayer is getting trolled. And I'm going to come back to a lot of this later on in the video, but, her tweets on May 25th, woke up this morning to see a buttload of trolls trash talking, blah, blah, blah. And then the tweet right above it says, and, are you Batman? And if you've been following what I've been talking about, this is really important. I also mentioned the band Slipknot and how they were important to this date of August 10th with Donald Trump saying he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair in a helicopter in 2015. And there was all this Batman stuff that was going on within that month of August of 2015. Morgan Freeman's grandmother died, or granddaughter died, and they showed him and her at the Batman premiere in the mainstream media. We had the guy who dressed up like Batman and went around the hospitals die. We had Donald Trump say he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair. We also had Batgirl, Yvonne Craig, die, and the Batman shooter, James Holmes, was sentenced all in that same month. And there was a bunch of Batman stuff synced up to Slipknot. And I mentioned how Slipknot was, I made this video about Corey Taylor in 2015, which was the biggest trolled video I ever had. And I mentioned how it was synced up to this troll theme. Then the next day, I believe it was, I made this video about the death of, however you say this guy's name, Sean Crahan or Crahan or whatever, the guy in Slipknot. His daughter died, and I made this whole video talking about how it was coded with gematria. And Slipknot even has a song called Gematria, the Killing Name. Like, what are the odds? You know, they know about this system and understand it. But if you go to this video, it is literally, now it is the biggest trolled video I think I've ever had, hands down. Just all of these people just trolling like crazy, right? So, it's just really funny, you know. I even talked about the video before, how there's this troll theme that's going on, and it's connected to Slipknot. I make this new video about Slipknot, and it gets, I mean, look at the view amounts, too. 11,000 views compared to 474, and so on. All of this was absolutely, you know, on purpose. So, it was all purposeful. It was all supposed to happen. And, you know, I'm just trying to get that point across. You know, and me showing all of these connections and how it syncs up to my own life within the mainstream media, I swear that's the reason why I'm so censored on here. You know, it doesn't make sense that I have 4,000 subscribers after doing this since, been making videos since 2013, and, you know, the good majority of them I've been talking about how this system is synced up to my own life, and I can't tell you how many times I've talked about something weird that happened in my life, and how it was synced up to a certain thing, and then that certain thing appeared within the mainstream media. Just even recently, you know, this troll theme, I talked about Mary Poppins one day at work, how I wrote Mary Poppins on the back of this lottery ticket, and the next person that walked in was wearing a shirt that said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And I came home and whatever, and then just a few days later, we had a story about Mary Poppins in the mainstream media, you know. Just countless examples of this. You know, I made a video about, trying to think, talked about all of this stuff way back with the blackface stuff and how it was possibly connected to Curtis Blow, the rapper. And then a few days later, we got a story about how this other guy within this blackface stuff, he dressed up like Curtis Blow, you know, so, and it was all because of Synchronicity and some of my old videos. And anyway, let's move on. I want to show a few more examples, I guess, before I move on, and then I just have a lot to talk about, and I've missed a lot of days. I had a lot of stuff going on last week, but I knew that it was going to be a very important weekend, and lots of these things were going to happen that I was supposed to see, and they truly did. And I'll probably not talk about every single one of them, but, you know, we even had the Lyon, France explosion. And if you've been following what I've been saying, I've been talking about this date of August 10th like no other, right? August 10th, and how it's important to France. And August 10th is also World Lyon Day, and just all of this stuff. I'll leave some links in the description, but then we get an explosion in Lyon, France, and look at Lyon. That looks like lion. I mean, what are the odds, you know? Just the other day on Facebook, this channel right here, he had messaged me on Facebook about the story about Mount Everest and how it was synced up to May 29th, because May 29th, which is today, is the 66th anniversary of the first ascent of Mount Everest, and Mount Everest equals 66, and so on. But back on the 50th day of the year, February 19th, he messaged me about this Mandy Moore story and how she said that her husband was, or her marriage was drowning. And at the time, I was talking about there was a theme going on with more and also drowning, right? And he thought it was interesting because there's a story about Mandy Moore and drowning. And that was on the 50th day of the year. And now today we get the story about Mandy Moore, and look where she was. She celebrated reaching Mount Everest. So what are the odds this person just reached out to me a few days ago about Mount Everest, and they were also the person who mentioned Mandy Moore and the importance back on the 50th day of the year. Just so happens this story came 3 months and 10 days after the 50th day of the year, right? This big number I've been following as well, 310. It's important to France and the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati. Johann Adam Weishaupt equals 310. The Illuminati was established 3 months and 10 days before August 10th as well, and August 11th without the end date, right? So these 2 days we've been talking about, it's important because August 10th is the day the French monarchy, or the French monarchy was abolished and whatnot. But notice that story about drowning was on the 50th day of the year. If you go from Mandy Moore's birthday to today, it's 50 days, and drowning equals 50. And that story about her before was 50 days before her birthday. So it was on the 50th day of the year. Her birthday's on the 100th day of the year. And her husband, Wikipedia has now changed it, which is interesting because they also did this with my Paul Gray stuff, the guy from Slipknot. And, even the guy who invented the troll dolls, Wikipedia changed his birthday too. He used to have died 3 months and 10 days after his birthday, and now it's changed for some reason, right? So I know that's important as well too, but why would Wikipedia even do that? That guy died a long ass time ago. Why are they going on there and fixing and changing certain things? It doesn't make any sense. Like, all of these old things, they might take something from, like, Beethoven and change it. It's like, shouldn't all of that be set in stone already? It's about something that happened years ago. It's not evolving or changing, so why are they changing stuff like his birthday and whatever else? It's because there are people who sit on there and they're scripting these things with this narrative, and they're changing Wikipedia for that purpose. But notice, if you go from the original day that Wikipedia said his birthday was, from today, it's 50 days. And if you go to what it says now, August 16th, it's just so happens to be 2 months and 19 days, like the 50th day of the year, like how their marriage was drowning on 2/19. And if you read out 50, it equals 66, just like Mount Everest. It's the 66th anniversary today of the first ascent. This person sent me all this stuff about 66 and why it was important and so on. And, once again, what are the odds? Just following these patterns that exist within our own life. Trying to think of another one here. What was another recent one? Oh, we'll skip over it. Well, this Bill Buckner one, this baseball player who just died, Bill Buckner. I mean, I just made all this stuff about Slipknot and why it was important. They're going to be playing at the Iowa State Fair on August 10th this year. And then Bill Buckner dies. And this guy's known for his error in the '86 World Series that cost the Boston Red Sox to go on to win the World Series, right? And if you followed what I was talking about last year, a big piece to all of the '86, or all of the stuff with August 10th is connected to Rocky Colavito, who the Indians are cursed by. The Cleveland Indians are cursed by Rocky Colavito, and his birthday just happens to be August 10th. And his birthday's August 10th. He's going to be 86 years old this year. That was another thing I talked about. I made this whole video on it clear back in October. Let me find it here. I talked about all the stuff with Kanye West and Freddy Krueger. There's this big Fred theme. My Uncle Freddy was born on August 10th. Kanye West, and so on. And in this video, I mentioned how Slipknot was played at the Iowa State Fair, just all kinds of stuff. I even mentioned how there was this connection to the Chicago Cubs because the Chicago Cubs had earlier in the year picked up Daniel Murphy, and Daniel Murphy was the former New York Met who won in 2015 who lost in 2015 to the Kansas City Royals, but the goat that cursed the Cubs his name was Murphy, and Daniel Murphy, I can't remember what it all was, but there was something to do with 86 and Daniel Murphy, and I talked about the 86 New York Mets, and the Red Sox and the Indians were really connected last year because the Indians coach is Terry Francona, and he's the coach who broke the curse of the Bambino for the Boston Red Sox. And they broke that curse after 86 years. And think about how Bill Buckner, had this error in the year 86. And if you write out curse of the Bambino, it equals 86 in gematria, and so on. So I was just talking a whole lot about this number 86, why it was important to August 10th. I mean, last year we had that Holy Fire, too, on August. That's what it was, the Holy Fire. That was on August 6th, and it was at Cleveland National Forest. And the reason it was so interesting was because a Holy Fire is a fire that's normally around the time of Easter, and Rocky Colavito in history got traded away to the Detroit Tigers on Easter Sunday, and on that same day, who was it? The Indians played an exhibition game in Memphis at Rustwood Park, and Rustwood Park burnt down, right? A holy fire on Easter, the same day Rocky Colavito got traded away. And last year, Daniel Murphy, his birthday just so happened to be on Easter. So it was all important to this number 86. And I mentioned how Slipknot was in that video, or going to be playing at the Iowa State Fair. And then, of course, we get the story about Bill Buckner now, the guy from the 86 World Series dying. I mean, and this number's been popping up like crazy. 86. Kanye West's birthday is even June 8th, which can be written as 8/6. So that was also the day of a lot of that pink and more and drowning symbolism. That was really important to that day as well. The Pink played a concert or something, and I have to go back and relook at it all, but I'll leave some videos in the description. But that was the same day Alex Jones got kicked off of social media, right? And, all kinds of stuff with it. Really, really synced up. What else is interesting about this Bill Buckner? He died on the May 27th, which is the 147th day of the year, at the age of 69. And if you write out World Series, it equals 69 and also 147. And if you look at the days here, so look at May 27th. May 27th is the 147th day, leaving 218 days. Now look at August 6th. August 6th leaves 147, and it's the 218th day. It's the mirror day. And this was a big thing I was talking about with Kanye West and how he sang the Freddie Mercury song, Bohemian Rhapsody, in Glastonbury in 2015. The Queen song, just after the Freddie Gray stuff. And that's why it was important that when they announced Slipknot was going to be performing at the Iowa State Fair, the tickets went on sale on November 2nd this year, which is the same day the film Bohemian Rhapsody came out, right? The Freddie one, the Freddie thing. And Freddie Gray's death was all synced up to a Freddie theme, right? What was it? Freddy Krueger, right? Freddy's Dead. That came out on the date of September 9th, or September 13th, which is the 256th day, leaving 109. And Freddie Gray died on April 19th, which is also the day this movie called Drop Dead Fred came out, which is the mirror day, right? 256 remaining, 109th day, and so on. There's this big Fred theme, and I mentioned how it was connected to Freddy Krueger, right? And Kanye West, and then the day of the VMAs, Wes Craven, the guy who made Freddy Krueger, died, right? What are the odds of that? There was even 2 hurricanes that were going on that year, and let's find Freddie Gray here. there was two hurricanes, or tropical storm and a hurricane, called Fred and Erica going on, and they right around the same time the VMAs that year, and they supposedly flooded the Carolinas. And when you look up Freddie Gray, he had two sisters. One was his twin sister, if I could find it here. His personal life. He had a twin sister named Fred Erica, and these two storms were Fred and Erica, right? What are the odds of that? And then he had another sister named Carolina, and Fred and Erica flooded the Carolinas, and then Wes Craven dies. It's no coincidence, it's all about how this system works. And it's important that he died in Baltimore too. I'll get to that because that's synced up to Batman as well, because Ben Affleck at the time, I'll just keep talking here, but Ben Affleck, his birthday is August 15th, and I believe that's Napoleon's birthday. August 15th, Napoleon's birthday, which is important to what I've been talking about. It's the 227th day of the year. This will be the 227th anniversary of the fall of the French monarchy. French monarchy equals 227. French Revolution equals 227. Napoleon born on the 227th day of the year. But Ben Affleck just so happened to be the new Batman for the upcoming movie, right? And they kept talking about him being Batman, and his birthday is in August, that same month where Trump said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair. But he's in the Batman called Batman vs. Superman, which is important to this Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuff, because Buffy the Vampire Slayer is going to be on this pro-Trump thing with Dean Cain, who's known for being Superman, right? Batman versus Superman. I mean, it is a joke. And if you just pay enough attention to these patterns, you'll understand what I'm saying. That's why she said, and you are Batman, right? Because it's all to do with what I'm talking about. So, look at Dean Cain's birthday, July 31st, the same day that Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out in history. And Ben Affleck is in that movie called The Sum of All Fears with Morgan Freeman, right? Think about Morgan Freeman was important to that Batman stuff. That movie's all about the nuclear bomb in Baltimore, right? So, something important to Baltimore and how it syncs up there. I think I mentioned it in here. I just can't remember it all. I'll come back to it, but Buffy's also important to the Illuminati, because when I rewatched that movie, if I can find it here, so I don't know where I put that picture, but I know it's important because right here in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, on the basketball part that has Ben Affleck in it, they show us the coach is running an Illuminati play. Like, why would he be doing that? It really makes no sense. And I know that's what I was supposed to see with all this Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuff. And I know that's why the Raptors are in the NBA Finals right now. We even got the story about how Drake was trolling the daughter of the Milwaukee Bucks owner, right? Drake was trolling. And it's important because August 11th this year, SummerSlam is going to be held in Toronto. And that's on Hulk Hogan's birthday. And all this stuff I was talking about with Philadelphia and an earthquake since 2015 is really important, because, Hulk Hogan got his revenge against Earthquake, and Hulk Hogan got injured on the Brother Love show. He got his revenge against Earthquake in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. So, I mean, it's just super important. Hulk Hogan's birthday is the same day as the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, and so on. There's something important to the Golden Gate Bridge and how it syncs up to Philadelphia. So, I don't know. Drake's all about the Illuminati as well, and so is Kanye West. If you remember a while back, Drake and Kanye had this big old beef, and if you've been following me since 2015, Kanye West was really synced up to the Paris, France ISIS attack as well. And, his name equals 56, Kim Kardashian 56, his daughter was or whatever. One of his kids was named Nori at the time, that equaled 56. Paris, France, 56. ISIS, 56. And so on, right? Osama bin Laden, with the S exception, even equals 56. Society of Jesus equals 56. Royal family equals 56. It's really, really important. Kanye West also equals 120, just like Illuminati. Just like Drake's real name, Aubrey Graham. If you write out Drake in English extended, it even equals 120, like Illuminati. That story came 1 month and 20 days after Drake's birthday. And keep in mind, this was all before I was really talking a whole lot about France. But I knew there was something important to it, right? If you write out 120, it equals 80, just like if you write out Bavarian Illuminati. That's why Adam Weishaupt died 80 days before his birthday. The story came 188 days after Kanye West's birthday, and Bavarian Illuminati also equals 188. So, lots of stuff going on with it. I pointed out stuff about Napoleon and Pope Francis in this post, so all kinds of stuff. So I know what I'm talking about is absolutely exists and it is going on, and these themes are really important. And the only way that I can fully understand these themes is by understanding gematria. So to me, they're equally important. Gematria really is just kind of the map to understanding the coincidences and synchronicities and patterns and signs and symbols. It's the key to all of it. So anyway, let's look at this story. This is the real reason I wanted to make this video anyway, other than showing the trolling of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But last night I made this, I saw this story on Monday. It was up in my tabs still, and I have so many tabs pulled up a lot of times. I forget about stuff and I get busy and whatever, but I had a ton of DJ gigs and whatnot over the weekend. Last Thursday I had to go to work, then I had karaoke, and then the next day I had to go to a band gig. The next day I had to DJ the whole day in Dow City, Iowa, and then I had to come back to the town I live in and DJ at the bar. And then on Sunday, whatever, I had to work at the store I work at, and whatever. I just had so much stuff going on, and then on top of everything else, but uh it was also alumni weekend, and I don't know if they do that everywhere, I assume, but in this town, all of the class reunion stuff is always going on this same weekend. And usually the 20-year class is the one who puts it on, and then other people show up and whatnot. But that's why they had me DJ at the bar in town, even though this big thing in Dow City, which is 10 miles away, was going on. And when that got over, I came back. But anyway, at the bar that night, this guy stopped me. When I first got there, I was setting stuff up, and this guy stopped me, and I've seen the guy before, but I didn't know him, and he asked me about my dad and how my dad was doing, and I was like, oh, I haven't talked to him for a few days and whatnot, and then he asked for my dad's phone number, and I gave it to him because I knew he probably graduated with my dad or something, and he called my dad, and my dad came up, and then I found out that his name was Mike Murphy, and he said he even used to live with my dad. And I thought this was odd because, I know Murphy is a popular name, but I mean, the town I live in is like 1,000 people, and my mom's maiden name was Murphy, and she had a brother named Mike Murphy. And the thing is that on April 4th, I documented about him because all of my other uncles and my grandpa, they have this connection to 166, and he's the only one who died that didn't have that connection. And I didn't know, I've wondered for years what the purpose of his name in gematria was, because it didn't have this same connection. Like for example, my uncle Barney, his name equals 166, and he died 166. Or I asked my mom when his birthday was, 166 days after his birthday, and a bunch of stuff. And my first uncle on my mom's side to die, his name was Kelly Murphy. Whatever, you get the gist. His name equaled 166, and my grandpa's name was Eugene Murphy. That equaled 166. They all have these connections to 166, which is a big number that I've been talking about with the Montegraph stuff in August 10th. And Anyway, I was we're getting ready to move. Hopefully, we don't know for certain that we got this house yet, and my girlfriend started putting all this stuff in boxes and whatnot. And one day I came home from work and I noticed a stack of papers sitting on the table, and I went over and like looked at it, and the first paper that I saw was my Uncle Mike's obituary. And I was like, well, that's weird. Just, I don't know, just odd. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it was weird that out of all the things, it was his, and he died on the same day as the Philadelphia train wreck in 2015. 5/12/15. This was a big thing I was talking about then, and how it was synced up to Pope Francis's visit. That train wreck happened at 9:23 at night, and then we had that movie Trainwreck with LeBron James in it, where Amy Schumer's character is 9 years old in the beginning, and the rest of the movie takes place 23 years later. And in Jewish gematria, LeBron James equals 923. Then Pope Francis came to America on his 923rd day as Pope and went to the White House at 9:23 in the morning, and so on. There was all of these 923 things going on with Pope Francis's visit and how it synced up to Philadelphia. And once again, that's why I think that Drake stuff is important to Philadelphia and stuff that I was talking about in 2015. But anyway, I typed out my uncle's name, and his name is Michael Patrick Murphy. That just subs equal 310. And I was like, well, no wonder. That's why that his obituary was sitting on that stack, because I wasn't supposed to see it until this point in time, right? Because this number is really important to what is going on. And oddly enough, he has that connection. He doesn't have that connection to 166, but he has this connection. And so anyway, I see this guy at the bar. His name's Mike Murphy. He used to live with my dad, which I was like, that's odd. And the next day when I went to work, the priest, who was the priest for my Uncle Mike's funeral, he came into the gas station. He came in with this other priest, and they're both from Africa, and they stand out in a small town in Iowa because there's not very many black people, right? And on top of that, he doesn't speak his English is very poor. So it just stood out to me, right? I see this guy. He hasn't even been the priest here for, a number of years now. Probably, I don't know what it is, I don't know for sure how long he's been gone. But I just thought it was odd that he was in the gas station with this other guy, another priest, right? And I'll never forget when my Uncle Mike died, the way that that guy said his name. He went, Michael Patrick Murphy, or whatever. And I like it made me laugh, honestly, at the funeral, because his accent was hilarious. And I don't know, that memory has stuck in my head for some weird reason in regards to my Uncle Mike's funeral, right? And I was just like, interesting, I meet this guy named Mike Murphy last night, and then now today I see this priest who I have a memory of from my uncle's funeral. And then on Monday, I pull up this story about this. There was a headline story, and it was, what is the Murph Challenge, and why is everyone doing it on Memorial Day? And when you look up the article, it says that this guy's name is Michael Murphy. It's like, what are the odds his name is Michael Murphy? And even to top it off, when you type out look at this. Top it off, his middle name is even exactly the same as my uncle's middle name. Michael Patrick Murphy. And what's even funnier is the day that I found that obituary and I documented about it, it was on May 7th, which just so happens to be this guy's birthday who's in the mainstream media, right? Michael Patrick Murphy. I mean, the odds of that are just insane, right? I mean, just no way. And then their names equal 310. We also had a story yesterday about Mackenzie Bezos and her giving away most of her money and whatnot. And that story was all about the number 86. And the reason that's important is because they got divorced on April 4th, which was the day I documented about my Uncle Mike and this number 310, if that makes sense. I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, back in April 4th is when I talked about the train wreck again, and it reminded me of my uncle dying on the train wreck day, and that's when I found out his name equaled 310. But on May 7th is the day that I found that obituary, and, It's just odd. And now this story about the Murph Challenge on Memorial Day, and this guy had literally the exact same full name as my uncle who died. And I knew that it was important. And here's the post just to prove to you that I did talk about it. May 7th, it was something. It was about how Kobe Bryant's connected to the Raptors and the 76ers. If you recall, even Drake has that song called Back to Back, and in 2000, what was it, 16, when the Golden State Warriors lost in the finals to the Cavs, I talked about this big back-to-back theme and the NBA All-Star Week was held in Toronto, and Drake has that song called Back to Back, and then Russell Westbrook won back-to-back All-Star MVPs, and Zach LaVine won back-to-back slam dunk contests. And, that's interesting too, because in this post over here, where I talked about my Uncle Mike, I talked about Zach LaVine, because all this stuff leading me into it was from my friend Cody, who, his favorite player is Zach LaVine and whatnot, right? So, it's just ridiculous, but, Kobe's important to this narrative that's going on. So, yeah, just want to point that out, I guess. Drake and his back-to-back theme. And the Cavaliers did win, but if you read out back-to-back, it equals 69, just like how Cleveland Cavaliers equals 69. And I pointed a lot of this out at the time. I wasn't sure if it was synced up to the Warriors or if it was really for the Cavs, but then later on they did the whole thing where they won the championship on the real King James's birthday and so on. But hopefully I'm not losing you here, but let's go back to this Murph Challenge story. So this was all about how they do this Murph Challenge on Memorial Day. And Memorial Day equals 64, just like Murph Challenge. Just like if you write out Michael Murphy. And oddly enough, when you look at my uncle, guess when his birthday was? 6-4, like 64. And if you write out 64, it equals 86, right? And then think about Daniel Murphy and the New York Mets. And the goat that cursed the Cubs was called Murphy. My Uncle Barney, who was really important to this when he died, and I got a letter in the mail the exact same day he died, right? And it was all about the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series and whatnot. That was also important to the Cubs, is the moral of the story. Murphy. So they say that they put this Murph Challenge, it first came out on August 18th of 2005. Which is interesting because 818 in Satanic Gematria, if you write out Bavarian Illuminati, that equals 818. But also it's the 230th day of the year. And if you write out Michael Patrick Murphy, like the guy's name and my uncle's name, it equals 230. Just craziness. Also, my Uncle Mike's wife, everyone calls her Rosa Murphy. And her name equals 64 in Gematria. And I'll explain this in a minute, but her real name's Kathy, and it's important, and I'll explain it in just a second why it's important. But in regards to the 86 stuff, the word memorial equals 86, and then I talked about Kanye West's birthday, right? But it's also funny, too, like just thinking about Memorial Day. Maybe it's just the area that I live in, but everyone just seems to get super hammered on Memorial Weekend, right? And then they don't really remember stuff, so it's just kind of funny that it's called Memorial Weekend. And a lot of what I have been documenting with this study and with what I am talking about, it all goes back to your memories, whether they're true or false or whatever. Everything that you remember, it is connected to the future, if that makes sense. Like, everything I've ever done in my entire life has happened for a reason. And the more that you study this and you see these signs and symbols, you see how it all literally is by this code. Like, we truly do live in some type of numerical sequence that is all synced together with these patterns. And, maybe it doesn't make sense to most people, but if you study this knowledge and you really, really put your mind to it and pay attention and think about your past experiences and document them, and your memory, all of it makes sense, you know. Everything that you've ever done, it all happened for a specific reason. Even you know, even me doing this video right now, it is happening for a specific reason. And it might be 10 years down the road that I'm going to get some type of sign or synchronicity that's going to tell me to come back and watch this video, and I'm going to get a way better understanding of life at that point in time. So anyway, this guy is also in the military, which is interesting because out of my mom had 8 brothers and sisters, and I'm almost positive, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive my Uncle Mike was the only one that was in the military. He was a Marine, and he really prided himself on that. You know, he didn't talk a lot about it, but his daughters and whatnot, they were all about it. You know, it was a lot about the military within his family. His one daughter still even has a picture of him in his military outfit on Facebook and whatnot. So it's just interesting. This guy's in the military, and I saw that he had a boat called the USS Michael Murphy named after him, and he died in Afghanistan, which reminds me of Osama bin Laden, who was born on the date of 310, right? And this guy's name equals 310. Osama bin Laden also died 3 months and 10 days before August 11th, which is the day that Al Qaeda was formed, right? And it's this August 10th and 11th are these 2 important days that we have been following. So, you know, it's just interesting he would die in Afghanistan. I just feel like there's something important. And further, I looked up this ship, and it said that its home port was Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, which, you know, maybe not that interesting, but there's been a lot of Hawaii stuff in the media as well. We had this, whatever, rat lungworm case confirmed in Hawaii. Then just recently we've had this hiker who was found or lost in Hawaii. And I know there's another story about Hawaii that I just can't place. I didn't write it down or didn't screenshot it, and I can't find it. But I know there was another story about Hawaii, and what sticks out to me the most about all the Slipknot stuff is the only reason I even remembered all of the Slipknot stuff was because my friend Jimmy had reached out to me or messaged me on Facebook the day before his grandpa died, and he told me he was going to be coming back to town. And then his grandpa died, and he ended up having to come back to town anyway, but he wanted to hang out and whatnot. And this guy he's all about the military. He was in the Navy, and everything he shares on Facebook, it's about the military and how awesome it is. And the only other conversation I've ever had with him really is about music. And we go way back, really. I mean, my mom used to babysit him and his brother when I was a little kid and so on. My mom babysat for years, and they were always the first 2 kids to come in the morning. We played football all the time and just tons of stuff, you know. But recently, every time I've ever talked to him, it's always been about the military and how awesome it is. He always tells me, and I just let him go on with it, whatever. But the music is the other one, and he shared a video about Slipknot's new music video called Unsainted. So that's what brought back all of this Slipknot stuff. And the reason it's important is because when he was in the Navy, he was stationed in Pearl Harbor, stationed in Hawaii. And yesterday, I went to Facebook, and one of the first things that popped up was a thing that he shared on a couple days before or something, and it was this song called Time by Pink Floyd. And what's funny about it, out of the 2 people who liked the video, one of them was my Uncle Mike's wife named Kathy Murphy, right? And even funnier is that our band gig on last Friday, we added this song, only this song, to our set list, the song Time by Pink Floyd. So I'm like, what in the world, right? There's got to be something to do with why this is important, you know, Hawaii and whatnot. The song Time is on Dark Side of the Moon. And we just, this year, had China land on the dark side of the moon. The song also has the clock noises that were made by Alan Parsons. Alan Parsons is the guy who was in the Alan Parsons Project. They're the people who wrote the song Eye in the Sky. And was it on the album called Sirius, or was the song called Sirius? think it was called Serious Eye in the Sky or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the song there. And that's Michael Jordan's intro music, right? The Chicago Bull and whatnot. That's all synced up to the bull god who is El, and so on. Saturn, or El, is also ironically the keeper of time, right? I think about this song called Time by Pink Floyd, On the Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd's been really important too with Donald Trump and the wall symbolism as well. There's a big water theme that was going on. Think about Roger Waters. There's something important. Hawaii also was really important to North Korea, and also the Great American Eclipse. So I'll leave a link to that video in the description, but think about it. Dark Side of the Moon. Hawaii is important to the Great American Eclipse that happened on the anniversary of Hawaii becoming a state, and so on. So anyway, I went to my blog. I went up here and I typed in the dark side of the moon. We'll see if it comes up again. The dark side of the moon. Okay, we got the one about China. Now this is the new one. It does come up again. I swear last night this was the first one that came up though. And it was a post about my Uncle Eddie, who was my Uncle Mike's brother who's still alive. And in 2011, he won a trip from Hustler magazine. He filled out a deal for Hustler, and he got to go to the Bunny Ranch in Las Vegas and go on a date with this girl named Cammie Parker. And when I was looking through this article of my post, it just so happened that the girl he got to go on a date with, she was the playmate of from August of the year 10. What are the odds of that? August 10? Yet again, an August 10th thing. It's just absolutely ridiculously mind-blowing, right? So another connection to a different uncle. And what's even funnier is just before I even started making this blog post, I only clicked on a couple articles, and one of them was about Lamar Odom claiming he didn't do drugs the night of the overdose, and the brothel owner Dennis Hoff was the one who tried to kill him. Dennis Hoff just happens to be the guy who owns that same bunny ranch that my Uncle Eddie had went to in 2011. And it's just craziness, right? Lamar Odom had went to this, well, he went to the different one, but it was in the same area, and so on. I clicked on this article before I discovered the dark side of the moon was connected to my Uncle Eddie and going to the Hustler, winning a trip from Hustler. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's just so ridiculous. Like, in the thing they even call him Murph. I don't know if I have it on here, but why would Lamar Odom be in the mainstream media saying this now, too, Seems odd. He did it on The View that equals 92. His name equals 92. The guy, Dennis Hoff, actually died back in October as well, so maybe that's part of it, but my Uncle Eddie, too, last time I documented about him, or the first time I believe it was that I documented about him, his name's Eddie Murphy, or I've always called him Eddie Murphy. And, some people call him Ed and whatnot, but it's interesting because I documented about him on March 23rd, and then just a couple weeks after that, Eddie Murphy, the actor, his brother Charlie Murphy, had died. So I wonder if there's something important with all the Freddy symbolism. I haven't had time to really get into this movie here, but there's a movie called Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy in it, and I wonder if there's some hint in that movie, because it's a movie made by Wes Craven, and then we got Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's really important, so there's got to be something in this movie, but every time I try to watch it, my kids start screaming or something, so I just need to just restart the whole movie. I fell asleep last night, then my laptop died one night, so. Because what's funny is for some reason I was looking this up before. I don't know I can't remember why. That's what's even funnier to me, because I know I had re-looked up my Uncle Eddie just a few days back too for some apparent reason. I can't remember what it exactly entailed. And then that's another reason why I thought it was interesting that this article came up when I typed in the dark side of the moon. Hopefully that makes sense. But August 10. I can't find this Cami Parker girl's birthday or anything like that. The girl that he supposedly got to go on a date with. The article's hilarious when you're reading it. Just thinking about your uncle like doing these chicks at the Hustler Mansion and whatnot, and some of the stuff that he said in the article just made me absolutely laugh. And I'll never forget too. After he went there, he was so proud of it, man. Like we had like Thanksgiving or Christmas or maybe it was Easter. Can't remember what it was for sure, but he brought like he got like a robe and he had all these autograph stuff and he was showing it off and my grandma was just shaking her head and whatever else. So to be honest, I always thought he'd be the first one out of all my uncles to die, and I know it sounds bad, but he's just always looked the roughest over the years, and he's still kicking and whatever else. The only two uncles that I have on my mom's side that are left, they both live in Omaha. All the other ones that died, they all lived in the town that I live in. So what are the odds of that? It's pretty weird that the only two brothers that lived in Omaha, they're still alive. So I wonder if there's something to do with that as well. Something important. If you're to Edward Murphy and Frank Baconis equals 310. His birthday's the same day as the same day Holly Selassie died, who was important to the lion symbolism that's connected to August 10th, World Lion Day. That's why we had the Lyon air crash, and then that was connected to the Ethiopian airline crash on the date of 310. And Holly Selassie was the lion of the tribe of Judah, and his birthday is the first day of Leo, which is the lion, and August 10th, World Lion Day, falls during the time of Leo, which is a lion. So, but if you go from yesterday when this happened to my Uncle Eddie's birthday, it's 2 months and 30 days. My Uncle Mike's full name equals 230. And remember, they first aired the Smurf Challenge on the 230th day of the year. So, this bunny ranch is also in Lyon County, or Lyon County, reminding us of the French uh, explosion just from the other day, right? Lyon, that looks like lion. It cannot be a coincidence with the Slipknot stuff. I had talked about how there was this plane crash or a plane that skidded off the runway in Florida. Florida equals 310, and it went into the 310-mile, whatever it was, Jackson River, the 310-mile long Jackson River, but it was coming from Guantanamo Bay, and then the next day, maximum security got disqualified in the Kentucky Derby. Guantanamo Bay, think about maximum security. And I watched the movie Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay, and they go to the whorehouse, right? And the girl that Doogie Howser goes and does, I've actually met her before. Her name is Echo Valley, right? So just think about all of this, right? How my uncle went to the whorehouse, basically, and Doogie Howser goes there before he gets shot, and then when they steal his car, they find the Slipknot's guy's mask. The guy who just got kicked out of Slipknot, they find his mask. So it just can't be a coincidence. There's something important to it. And it all seems to be pointing to August 10th, or possibly August 6th is really important too. And so there's just a few dates that June 24th is really important. And Kanye West's birthday is really important too because it could be 8/6. It's important for a number of reasons. The 159th day of the year, Donald Trump equals 159, and so on. Kanye West, remember, even said he was going to run for president in 2020 at one time. So it's funny too. Kanye West did thinking about it in regards to the song Time. This song Time. Um, like a month ago, we added 3 new songs to our set list, and one of them was Beck, Loser, right? We added that to our set list. Never heard a band play that song in Omaha as a cover song, right? And we do the whole slide guitar thing and whatever. But just makes me wonder because Kanye West, he did the whole getting up on stage and messing with Beck in 2000, what, 16 or 15? Hold on, let me see. Morning Phase. I'm just now thinking of this, so we'll go to 2016 VMAs really quick. 2016 VMAs. It was one of these years. I can't remember what year it was. But Kanye West got up on stage and did the same thing he was going to do, or he did with Beyonce and Taylor Swift, but he did it to Beck for his album called Morning Phase. And I don't know, it just makes me wonder now that we added that song Loser. When did it come out? Maybe it was the Grammy Awards that Kanye West did that at. Yeah, it was the Grammy Awards. So, but I can't remember all the details. That Morning Phase, I believe, equals 139. And when Kanye West did that to Taylor Swift, it was on 13/9. And the Paris attacks were 139 days after his birthday. And, there was all kinds of stuff. Taylor Swift said that she started following Kanye when he joined the craft, or he was studying the craft. And they were talking, they made it seem like he was talking about, like, arts and whatever, but really they were talking about Freemasonry, most likely. They said the craft. They worded it just right to where it fooled a lot of people, but it's really important. That's why Beyonce Knowles equals 168, just like Taylor Swift equals 168, and so on. Then after Taylor Swift won at the VMAs, they called her the Queen of the VMAs, and Queen Elizabeth II equals 168. That's why Kanye West sung the Queen song at Glastonbury, or the Freddie song called Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm pretty sure that it's all connected back to the Illuminati as well, because Adam Weishaupt, he died on he was born on February 6th, which is interesting because that's also the day that Queen Elizabeth became the queen. 2/6, remember queen equals 26, and so on. She was coronated on 6/2 or 2/6 and born in the year 26 and turned 26 years old just after she became the queen, and so on. So 2/6, if she dies, her son Charles will become the new king, and he'll be Charles III, and interesting, Charles II also died on February 6th. Interesting, I'm making this video today on May 29th. Huh. So, I know there was a lot more I was going to talk about with this video, but like I said, you come to the blog and look through some of this stuff. When Donald Trump said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair, that was also on Napoleon's birthday, August 15th. Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that it's all back to my old videos. Like, I have to go back and study, like, so much of the stuff that's going on with my old videos and how they make sense together. Another reason I know this Bill Buckner guy it's important to the Cleveland Indians and Rocky Colavito is because the day that he died, the Red Sox started a series against the Cleveland Indians even. It's fitting he died age 69, too. Age 69, because the incident of his error happened at Shea Stadium that equals 69. New York Mets equals 69. Normally the coach, John McNamara, would take him out of the games and whatnot, and he didn't for some reason. And, of course, his name equals 69 in Gematria. He's currently 86 years old, born on June 4th. All these numbers I've been talking about in this video, so. all that New Orleans stuff was connected to the number 64 as well. It's a big number with civil rights. Just trying to go back here. The Earthquake World Series that has been really connected to this year, to August 11th and so on. The Earthquake World Series was in the 86th World Series in 1989. And remember that Earthquake Series in 89 was synced up to Queen Elizabeth in the year 1989, and that's why Taylor Swift has that song, the album called 1989. But Field of Dreams, the movie, it came out on the date of Queen Elizabeth's birthday in 1989, and it was the Red Sox. I believe it was the Red Sox versus the Oakland Athletics, who went on to. Did they lose the Giants? I can't even remember. They either lost or won to the Giants in the 1989 World Series, the Earthquake World Series, and that's why they flashed Moonlight Graham because in 1922, because that was the same city World Series that involved the Giants. And then the Giants went on to play the Oakland A's, the same city or same area World Series, and that's where the earthquake was, right? And this year on August 11th, the Giants are going to play Philadelphia, and it's a tribute to the 1989 World Series team, right? So that was the 86th World Series. Sorry, just rambling now, just talking, but I had so many synchronicity things that were going on recently. Oh man, it's just craziness. I documented about mushrooms and that story about Denver and mushrooms, and the last time that I ate mushrooms, and it was with my friend named Tom Alfonso, and or was at his house, and I hadn't seen him in forever, and he came to the bar on Saturday because apparently he's with his old girlfriend again, and it was her 20-year reunion, so he came to the bar and he came up behind me or whatever, and I don't even, I'm not going to go explain it. I have to read through what I even documented with it, but there's something important to the band Smile Empty Soul and a bunch of stuff, but it's just amazing that he showed up. Also, it's interesting because he actually knows Sid from Slipknot, and he's even been to his house and took pictures with his Grammy and whatever else because he used to live with a guy named Patrick who was a DJ, and he was friends with Sid, and Sid is the DJ in Slipknot and whatnot. And I don't know. All I know is that he's friends with him. He hangs out with him every now and then, and so on. Right. So I don't know. I know that my friend Tom does not know about this stuff, but you know, I kind of want to meet Sid. You know, I've met him before, but I've never really hung out with him or anything. So never been to his house and all that. So there's something important to it. This this France attack on January 17th is also really important to a lot of the stuff with Rocky Colavito. It's also James Earl Jones's birthday, right? James Earl Jones and Field of Dreams. He's been really important to a lot of what have been documenting about. You know, he's Darth Vader, and then the wrestler Vader died, and so on. This is the big hope theme, and that's why Slipknot's album called All Hope Is Gone was important. So the word Lyon means lion, and Vader's real name was Lyon. Trying to think here. Oh, so January 17th was the day that my son was born in 2018, and it was just a huge day with this number 624 that was synced up to August 10th because it's January 17th is 6 months and 24 days before August 10th. And the reason that's important is because Rocky Colavito equals 624, Detroit Tigers equals 624, That's why last year the Indians played the Tigers on the date of 6/24. That's why YouTube changed my thumbnail of this molesting Catholic priest that I used to have. 624 days after I put the video out, they changed the thumbnail on my Cleveland Indians video about the finger symbolism and Fred symbolism. They wanted me to see that 6/24. And this date is also 6 months and 24 days after the date of 6/24. And my grandma died 6 months and 24 days before my Uncle Clancy, who died 6 months and 24 days before my birthday. And my Uncle Barney, who died in 2017, died 8 months and 10 days before my grandma. And just a lot of stuff. My Uncle Clancy, his son Ryan, was a big thing of reason why I thought the Eagles were going to be in the Super Bowl in 2018, because he's the only Eagles fan I know. But his daughter, who's named in honor of my grandma who died, her birthday was on August 10th, who, by the way, they also call Murph. And he was back for his 20-year class reunion this weekend, and I saw him at the bar as well. And the last time I saw him was at his dad's funeral. And I probably won't see him again for a long time, so what are the odds? So we'll leave it there. I have to learn a few new songs tonight for our band gig on Saturday, so they're all like 90s easy ones, so it shouldn't take me too long, but I have to be quiet and not, I don't know, got a lot of stuff to do before I gotta go to work tomorrow morning, so have a good one. Peace.